morning, or hello. How are you? And welcome to Just Talking Business. We want to thank you for tuning in. I'm Stephanie Van Bark, and I am a small business owner. So I met this young woman years ago when she was the owner of a coffee bean. And I've watched as really now I feel like she's definitely a serial entrepreneur and basically an empire, of sorts. But at any rate, let's bring her on board, Ramona Hall of How are you today?
Hi, how are you, Stephanie? Thank you for the invitation. Happy to be here this morning.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I think we're going to learn a lot with you, asking you a lot of questions, but let me start with who are you and what do you do?
My name is Ramona Phillips Hall. I am the owner and operator of Phillips Concessions.
Mhm.
Phillips Concessions owns and operates in partnerships two Starbucks coffee license locations, one Chick-fil-A license location, and two Einstein Brothers bagel locations here in the Miami-Dade County area. We
Okay.
employ about 140 employees through those five different entities, and we primarily found in the hospital, airport, and train station markets.
Okay. Okay. Which is actually a brilliant idea now that I think about what you just said. So then that made me think about I was reading your bio, and one of the things that talked about was you worked for Miami-Dade County at one point and also the Beacon Council. Um,
Yes.
as I understand it, it really sort of set or informed your plan of attack when you decided to become an entrepreneur. I guess I'm curious how so. What were some of the things that you were looking for as you were employed with these entities, and how were you able to really activate what you learned when you started to open the businesses that you were looking to open?
Well, on the county side, it's my first job out of college.
Mhm.
I got all the fun committees, being a legislative aide for a county commissioner. So I got budget, planning. They used to call it PEXA back then, planning, environmental, social change, zoning, and something else, and the CDMP, which is Comprehensive Development Master Plan. So I
Mhm.
learned a lot about development, but didn't quite understand all the pieces of that
Right.
until I started my second job, in my last job at the Beacon Council, where I found that most people, when you live in Miami, and maybe if you've grown up in Miami, you see it's this big city. And it really wasn't a big city back in 1995. It was a medium-sized city. A lot of the economic engine was about tourism here, and it still is. It still
Mhm.
is. But I saw opportunities in pockets, working at the Beacon Council with as a director of urban initiatives, looking at businesses who want to come into Miami-Dade County and where they were going into Miami-Dade County.
Okay.
Today, I remember in 1997, business relocated from New York. They made hats. They're called Whittle and Schoen. They
Okay.
were in the now Wynwood Popular District. They
Right.
paid $346,000 for their building at the time. It's now worth $5 million.
Wow. Wow.
$5 million.
Wow.
You know, their real estate investment is going to be their retirement, and then their business also is thriving in that particular area. They were finding employees, employee base that really work for them. So looking at all those things, I'm like, how can I be a part of this fabric of entrepreneurship here in Miami-Dade County? And
Mhm.
it just so happens I took my skills of lobbying once I left the Beacon Council, and made relationships through that, and partnered with a company out of Atlanta
Uh-huh.
and utilize their resources and their specialty in wanting in food and beverage. My deal was, hey, if you're successful in this opportunity at MIA, I want you to train me and show me how to be an entrepreneur. And they said, you know what, we're going to make you our partner. Let's do
Okay.
that. So that's kind of how I got to start in the food business.
Okay.
And I always wanted to do food because I always wanted to do something in food, but I didn't know it was going to be my main thing. I thought it would be lobbying, consulting, and then have like something small.
Right.
But in 2013, really pivoted away from the lobbying and consulting and focused on food, because it gave me an opportunity to hire people that look like me
Mm-hmm.
here in Miami-Dade County, who
Mm-hmm.
otherwise would not have jobs and opportunities in any kind of leadership capacity. And sure, the food industry is high turnover, um, and it's challenging,
Mm-hmm.
but I felt I had the personality and the drive to help one, develop young people that look like me,
Right.
and then give them the opportunities that weren't always afforded to them.
That's true. I actually have been to several of your businesses, and they are very heavily populated with folks from the community and folks, and our community where these are located is primarily African American. Um, so you have, as I mentioned, you mentioned a Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, Einstein Bagels, all within blocks from me. Thank you very much. Um,
You're
thank you very much. Um, why franchises? You talked about you thought you were going to do, a small thing on the side, but then you really got into this franchise arena. I'll honestly say you're the first person I've talked to who owns franchise businesses. Why did you feel like that was the best path to go?
For me, and also just to make sure from a correct um, lane that I'm in, it's licensing. So
Okay.
franchise and licensing are kind of separate.
Okay.
Licensing was what you usually find in what you call a non-traditional space.
Okay.
So franchise can be, in a strip mall, a corner store, in a large development in the community or neighborhood.
Okay.
That's where you can franchise. Licensing is what I do, and what I am a licensee. I can only operate in train stations,
Oh.
hospitals, airports, and college campus universities. So I'm in three of those four markets. I do not have a presence on a college campus or university as of yet,
Okay.
but that is what a licensee does. So basically, the licensee licenses, kind of like a franchise, but you license the brand,
Okay.
and you operate in certain parameters. With each brand is different in what you can and can't do, and what offerings they offer to licensees. For instance, as a Chick-fil-A licensee here in downtown Miami, I don't have access to the Chick-fil-A One app, which is very popular. It helps with streamlining. I'm not a third party payer. We don't have third party services at our Chick-fil-A. So all of our income and all of our revenue is generated by live bodies walking into our operation every single day. So it
Okay.
puts a lot of attention on an operation like such as ours. And it does impact sometimes the speed of service because we don't have those tools. However, I did start doing upstream at Chick-fil-A to kind of help with that process, but we're still a super busy location. And
Mhm.
some of those tools will help. Maybe Chick-fil-A will give those to us later in the future. They've talked about us in discussion, but right now, as a licensee, I don't have the full toolkit that a corporate or street location store would have.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the locations that you are located in, you mentioned, you're right, is a train station. You just opened Starbucks at the time the pandemic hit.
Yes, June
And
8th, 2020.
if anybody knows the downtown Miami area, it's coming along. It's definitely changing, but nobody was living here at that time. And really, all of the businesses really held a lot of their um, relied a lot of their money on the business community who wasn't coming here anymore. So, what were, after you had a moment to freak out for a minute, what were some of the strategies you put in place to kind of say, I need to make sure I keep these doors open and I'm able, because you were kind of open during some of those times.
Yeah,
So,
I opened.
what
I
did you
opened when I opened 24 hours initially for the first 2 months, and then I modified my hours.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things, I immediately engaged my landlord, and they were aware because this was June, the pandemic hit in March, so
Mm-hmm.
they were aware things were occurring and changing, and we weren't open as of yet. So worked on some lease details, and deferred some things and said, hey, this is what we can do right now. But it was a partnership between myself and the landlord. They wanted something open because it's a train station. Even though their train stopped running, they
Right.
still wanted something open. And so they worked with me in that. Of course, apply for all the different assistance that was available, PPP,
Right.
idle loans. Was successful with some, but not all. And that did help. But just really the landlord not, having to pay that rent, the full amount of that rent helped out tremendously for us to just kind of stay open. We made, we didn't make enough sales to cover our food costs or our labor. It was really challenging. So some of
Right.
those benefits that the government did provide did help us, particularly PPP loan, which at least pay our employees their salaries, helped us significantly.
Now, you also opened Chick-fil-A during that time, like in the middle of the pandemic.
Yes, I opened Chick-fil-A on December 17th. So we were kind of not really out of it, but
Right.
started coming back downtown a little bit. But the one thing about a Chick-fil-A brand, when we opened Chick-fil-A, it was a completely different experience when we opened Starbucks. So Starbucks was June. Our sales, we were the highest grossing Chick-fil-A in the entire license system in January, the second month after we opened, because the brand just drew people here.
Okay.
It really,
Okay.
I did invest in a marketing campaign. I used some of the dollars from an idle loan I received to invest in a marketing campaign before Chick-fil-A opened, and with Starbucks as well. And even with digital billboards in 95 to really drive traffic. I said, let me just put my eggs in this basket and see if people would know we're here. It'll increase our presence. And I think it was there. It was a significant effect by having Chick-fil-A on the Miami-Dade buses, on bus benches, on um, on digital billboards. It really helped with having those three brands out there. So I did like a joint marketing effort. So it went really well.
Yeah, it did. I mean, your Chick-fil-A is one of those locations that whenever you drive by or walk by, there's a line. There's a line for sure. So, what outside of the pandemic, what challenges have you experienced? Are there any that were more significant maybe in the pandemic? I think when you and I met, you on the coffee bean at the hospital. Uh,
Yes, the coffee.
Transition one of those businesses. Is there a reason why that one brand is doing better than the other, or
I think the first question on the challenge, the pandemic was twofold. One, it was a financial challenge to keep your doors open, not knowing the uncertainties of what's happening next. And then once you got the doors open, kind of organize yourself financially. Then it was the employee component, trying to find reliable, stable employees who are going to comply with wearing masks. Um, that was challenging because some people just didn't wear masks. We had to close our Chick-fil-A down, for a what? I would say for almost 2 weeks.
really?
Weeks we had to close that because of the pandemic. Had a COVID outbreak in
Right.
our operation, and
Oh,
that
really?
we had to close the store. Had to
Wow.
close the store, clean it, make sure everyone got COVID tested, and get COVID. It was a cost to us to do that, but again, it's making sure your team members are responsible and finding responsible people. So that was very challenging.
Okay.
The area that we are in is hard to recruit employees. I can pay employees $20 an hour with the same employee, with no soft skills training that I have to work tremendously hard on to get them there. Even
Right.
work with organizations like Career Source, that sometimes getting team members, it's just challenging because we're in this area where you have money and resources from
Uh-huh.
our guests and customers, but they're not working at Chick-fil-A and Starbucks and Einstein's.
Right.
They're there as customers.
Right.
So it's been very challenging. That still does present a challenge, but I
Right.
have personally um, taken a little bit more of my time, personal time, to be in the operation, particularly at Chick-fil-A, to help
Okay.
them develop and groom team members because a different level of guest experience that customers are expecting.
Okay.
And even though customers can be a little challenging because it's downtown Miami,
Right.
everyone's in a rush, they have the fear of missing out, and they're the most important people on the earth. And all of our customers are important, but some of them don't understand. They want the Chick-fil-A experience, but they don't want to be pleasant. And I have to remind my team members that regardless, you still have to kind of give them that experience,
Right.
that core four that Chick-fil-A requires. And even Starbucks, the connection you want to make. Einstein's, engaging greeting. It can just be very challenging for them. So if you don't have the soft skills training, it's very hard to overcome how to handle an interaction with the team, with a customer that may not be having a great day.
Right. That's true. That's true. So you talk about employees. I was reading on your website. Y- it seems like, it feels like, and I feel like maybe you're philanthropic. I read on your bio you have a very large philanthropic following, or you really are into philanthropy. Um, you seem to be very intentional about supporting your employees. Um, as many of us know right now, employee mindset is changing. People are wanting to work a little bit differently. I think some of the employers that aren't getting on board with that are actually missing the boat. But you seem to be very in tune with that. So, if you could talk about some of the ways that you were able to support your employees through the pandemic and now that they're out of it, and what made you aware that it was time for you to make a shift in order to really get and keep the employees that you needed.
Um, for me, basically I was a single parent as well. Out of
Mhm.
college, I had my son. I was a single parent for a few years, for many years actually. Even though I was in a long term relationship before I got married. Understanding what those challenges are, we don't have support systems in place.
Mhm.
I'm college educated. My mother's college educated. I had to figure it out, and I had the education behind me to be able to do that.
Mhm.
However, some of my team members don't have the family support system, and then they may have some personal challenges or mental health challenges or abuse challenges, different things going on in their life, and they're young people.
Mhm.
And I try to figure out what can I do to help them help themselves without just giving something to them and them not being able to understand that this is my responsibility. Whatever they're going through is their responsibility, and I'm just going to give you a hand. For instance, one of my employees, she was homeschooling her son. She didn't feel comfortable leaving him in the apartment, in the community they lived in, alone every day, and people knowing he's there alone. I said, why don't you just bring him to work? So
Okay.
he did his school. She worked at Starbucks, and he logged in every day. He came in early. He helped his mom take tables down and chairs before school started, and I would give him free breakfast and a free drink during the day because he's working. You work, you get paid. He got paid by his free meals and his free Starbucks drinks.
Very
Another
cool.
team member with the rents being going so high, um, and transitioning out of the Lotus House. We do work with the Lotus House and hire a lot of the women from the Lotus House. To work in our operations, and we know that that comes with some challenges, but we're ready to meet them. And the Lotus House is a great organization. They have a lot of support services there for their guests, their clients. And she was transitioning. She said, I really want to work and I want to do these things, but my childcare only covers X, and if I can put in this childcare, then I can work more, I can save more money. I said, well, so all I need, I just don't have the deposit money. So I gave her the $400 for a deposit
Oh,
so
nice.
she can get out in daycare, because to me, that was going to improve your life, your standing financially, because this $400 is separating you from one, working and going to school, because
Right.
your child care only covers so much. So if I give you
Right.
$400, you can work and go to school. We're going to increase the likelihood of you being successful and being
Right.
a good parent and not being stressed out about things. That's what I decided to do. And these are funds for the company. These are funds from my own personal pocket. Another team member doesn't speak English very well, and he went to the restroom and lost his wallet. Someone left his wallet there. Someone stole all of his whole paycheck was in his wallet. He
Right.
was devastated, broken, crushed. He just, he hasn't been in the country very long, just was able to start working. And he started crying. I said, you're safe. Nothing's happened to you. So your work, you can make the money over again. I said, listen, I'll give you half of your paycheck that you lost.
Oh, nice.
I said, go
Very.
home, come back tomorrow, be recharged. But again, it's those things, because I show empathy and grace, and I didn't have to. But again, I want to no, it's not the end of the world. And young people, everything's the end of the world to them.
Right.
Everything, if something happens, oh my goodness, they don't know how to adapt. They don't have the resiliency factors missing. So if I'm not melting down with some of the things that are happening, I'm trying to show them, hey, everything's not the end of the world. Everything's not a crisis. This happened. I was like, okay, breathe, breathe. Okay, so what do to resolve this, like right now? So you really can't do anything, right? You're not a doctor, so you can't
Right.
go and do X. So and think a little bit outside the box. But again, like I said, I really, from a philanthropic standpoint, financial literacy is important to me. One of my mentees, who is at Harvard Business School right now, I mentor her since eighth grade. Um, I realize that women oftentimes, from a young age, or whether you're in college, just growing up, you don't have the understanding that we're in charge of our financial futures. We don't
Right.
need to depend on a man or have to be in some kind of relationship to make sure we're going to be successful. So one of the things
Right.
that Lotus House, we do is a monthly financial literacy seminar. We haven't done it in 2 months now. We're going to get back on track. But
Okay.
we teach our CFO, myself, we go in and I tell them, share my story with them. We teach them like a monthly worksheet, because the Lotus House is a 12-month transition period. They need to be able
Right.
to be self-sustaining and be able to transition to housing. But if you're working and you're not saving your money, and I'm like, you're buying wigs and Jordans for
Right.
your kids, going out
Right.
to eat every night, you're not going
Right.
to save any money. So when it's time to leave, you're going to be in the same position when you came.
And your
So
largest asset is the thing that you wait for.
absolutely, I said, you all may transition out, have to transition out, but plan for it. You need to have something before you leave. So
Right.
they're taking some of it in. I'm sure some of them are taking it in and understanding that process. But we've had some really great team members that have joined us from the Lotus House. I'm very happy to have them on our team. And we're
Okay.
back. We're back. We're back. We're back.
Yay!
Tech
It
reminds me of COVID times.
really does. I
Ooh,
was
COVID.
like,
I'm telling you, if I had stocks and Citrix or something, some of those web-based before, ooh, look at
like,
this.
don't you just love technology?
I do. I really, I really
For me, it definitely is a
do.
love-hate relationship. It's a love-hate relationship. So,
I have
um,
Joseph, so it's more love.
look, that's I'm telling you, that's my husband. If that I had a show once where everything was going wonky, and thankfully the people that were my guests are from the film industry, so they just started doing their own thing while I was trying to get back on. I was like, thank
Mhm.
God, because otherwise that would have been a crazy day. So right before you left, we were
Uh-huh.
talking about, do you feel like the effort that you have put into your employees has made an impact on their loyalty to your company and wanting to grow with your company?
Um, I would say yes and no. And
Mhm.
the media, like I said, inside the media impacts, they're excited. They want it. They want to do better. They want to be better. They want to excel. But today's employee is very transactional and very, again, emotional, very instant gratification. They
Mhm.
need to be praised
Mhm.
every day, not admonished, not. no constructive criticism, and I give it very constructively, and I'm very straightforward. Hey, this is what you're doing great. These are some areas and opportunity I need you to work on for X,
Right.
Y, and Z. So I for those that I've helped and those that are just there that I spend a lot of time talking to, some of them just don't want to do better. It's just, you have to be there. I tell them all the time, I need you to do this when we're not here, when management is not present. I need you to stand up and do the right thing. I just had a conversation with one of the young ladies. She's in Barry University. I said, you're going to your third year. I said, you can't wait to build character.
Right. Absolutely.
When
You
you
should have been
graduate,
doing that all along.
having character now.
Right.
We have an acronym that we use here. It's called REACT, RIACT. Respect, integrity, accountability, communication, and timeliness.
Okay.
Um, I said, those are things that you need to work on now. I said, because you're not going to fool an employer. I said, you're here. And when you're here, I said, I'm probably the best role model you're going to have that you have in your life. You take advantage of it. So
Right. Right.
walk the same walk every day. And if you see that you keep saying, I want to be in business like you're not modeling that behavior to want to be
Correct.
in and do the
Correct.
right thing. So when I'm not around, I need you to do the right thing.
You need to be an entrepreneur of your own space.
Yeah. Yeah. But again,
And
they're young. But again, I'm just going to keep letting them know so it won't be a shock to them, how life is going to be. And say,
mhm.
wow, I should have listened. Because right now, you're comfortable living at your mom's house with your aunt or in a room or
Mhm.
whatever. You don't have the full breadth of responsibility upon your shoulders. It's very
Mhm.
different.
The
Very.
ecosystem here, though, is sort of set up to really inspire entrepreneurship, but I don't feel like the foundation is really there to help folks, as you mentioned, be an entrepreneur in their own space before they try to get out on their own and do it. This is hard work. This is sometimes 24 hours.
Yeah,
So
it is. It
how do
is.
you manage that?
It is. And I meet a lot of young people who have ideas and entrepreneurs, like one of my mentees, she's like, I guess she's not the non-performing mentee. So I want to start my business. I want to do this. I said, well, you take a lot of pictures and you do a lot, you want to do posts, but how is that going to make money for you? How is that
Right,
going to change that transaction? You being on Instagram and wanting to do this and be involved with sports. How does that make money for you? Because you need to live off money.
right,
Your passion needs to fuel you in such a way that you figure out how to make the money out of the passion for what you want to do. And
exactly.
some of them say, one of them's like, I want to make makeup. Okay, I said, so you have MAC, you have Fenty, you have Estee Lauder, and I'm going through a list of makeup providers. I said, how is your makeup going to set apart from all of these
Oh,
brands?
right,
And where are you
right,
going to get your seed and capital? What's going to make you stand apart? It's going to be so awesome. So you may
right,
love making makeup, but is that going to be a long-term deal for you? So
right. And it could be, but you've got to have a real plan.
I'm sorry, they just turned the music up really loud, and I'm having it on a call. It's like blasting. There's never any music in here.
What?
Hold on one moment. You
Funny.
hear it?
Yeah, I do hear it, but not over
Yeah,
you. I
it's
will
not over
say
me. Okay, okay, yeah.
it's
It's
funny. You were
it's,
like,
it's very loud. There's never any music in here ever. It's a quiet.
now,
It's the worst.
now all of a sudden they got music. Welcome to the wonderful world.
Yeah.
So before we started, I understand you had a bit of an emergency. It was an operational. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear. Just so loud. I didn't know if you can hear me.
It was
Absolutely.
a bit of an operational emergency. Um, how do you put into place methods and preparation for emergency circumstances? Um,
Um,
in business, it could be everything from you didn't get a shipment to a hurricane's coming through, and nobody expected a pandemic. How do you strategize or plan for emergencies in your?
Starting with the pandemic, actually, Stephanie, I felt and saw the pandemic coming in February.
Did
I
you
was
really?
walking around my store spraying Lysol because I'm watching the news. My husband actually mentioned to me in November, like, "Hey, there's something." I was like, "You don't know what you're talking about." He mentions in November. See, he's a voracious reader. He reads magazines and journals from all over the world and
Right.
links. And he brought it to our attention, dropped it to my attention. And so in February, I had to go on a Chick-fil-A cruise, their annual conference. So they
Uh-huh.
sent this notice out saying, "Hey, has anyone traveled abroad to China or to Asia? Please let us know. And also, if you're not feeling well within 2 or 3 days of the trip, please let us know. You'll be excused." So we go on the cruises. No, it was February 4th, this cruise. So it was very
Mhm.
pandemic, just like a chatter.
Right.
We got
And
on
that
the
was
ship.
right before the Super Bowl
Yeah.
when it broke
We got
through.
on the ship and so people came on the ship sick. They quarantined them in their rooms. Chick-fil-A quarantined them immediately. They could not leave their rooms for 4 days. They brought them food, water, everything they needed. So we just barely made it off a boat. And that was 4,000 people on between
Mhm.
two boats. Yeah. So when I came back, I was very vigilant. I was like hyper focused. And people look at me, what are you doing? I'm wiping down Lysoling. And I started putting together a plan. When March hit, I wrote a letter to all my landlords. I wrote a letter to my vendors. Hey, this pandemic seems to be serious. I may, may affect my cash flow. I may not, could we have extended terms? I
Okay.
wrote letters to my landlords. Hey, this is happening. I see my sales are being impacted. Traffic is going down. So by the second week in March, when the pandemic really hit everyone, like punched everyone in the face around the world,
Hmm.
um, I was kind of in a good place. I already wrote these letters and everything set up. So I planned for that. When you talk about day-to-day emergencies, I start my day early. Like I try to get in 5:30. So I'm
Okay.
touching all the business. I'm able to solve a problem early so it doesn't impact us throughout the day.
Before the
Um,
doors open.
Back to my interview with you today. That to run and get some eggs or the recalls. I went to Publix and got some. So I still don't want my customers to be without. So
Right. So just being very, really understanding your business and really sort of keeping your ear to the grind.
yeah,
That's what you're.
yeah.
Um. So as we mentioned, you have five locations. Tell me about your day. Yes,
My day.
you
Um,
see,
yes,
you sound
I
like you a
basically
busy
right.
woman.
A lot of my time is spent at Chick-fil-A because our general manager resigned in January. And
Oh.
there were lots of challenges in the operation. I know I kept wondering why they couldn't be addressed. And they've been addressed since she resigned the first week in February. They've been addressed. It was just really not being able to manage people. Because like I said, our employee market was challenging. And
Hmm.
then our guests were a little challenging for her. She worked for Chick-fil-A for 10 years out of Atlanta, Georgia. It's a different type of climate here in South Florida. So I think
Absolutely.
that was
Hmm.
challenging for her, between the employees and the guests were very challenging for
Okay.
her. So I've been spending the last, I took a vacation last week for my daughter, first time. And even when I left, it's like everything went haywire, me not being in operation after spending and pouring into employees for weeks, for months. It's
Uh-huh.
like, oh, everyone wants to be the boss. No, everyone's not the boss. You have a
Right.
goal to do, a job to do, stay in position, play your role, and
Right.
we will be successful. When you get out of positions, when we have issues. So I try very hard to each day touch up employee and have a
Right.
conversation with them. Like
Okay.
each have a meaningful sit down. Hey, let's sit down, have like 5 minutes. How is
Okay.
your how is work going? What are some of the challenges you find here? What are some of the challenges at home that may impact your ability to do your job? How can I
Hmm.
help you with your personal growth? And some of them like, I'm good. I don't have anything, whatever. And then some of them are not finally open up, like, wait a minute. I tell them, I said, does anyone else sitting down with you having this
Right.
conversation?
This is the time.
Conversation with you, you need to take advantage of this one that we're
Mhm.
having because I can help you grow. I can help you in whatever way I can. I'm willing to do that, but you need to let me know where I can meet you. It's not just about
Mhm.
their employment here. I want to see them grow beyond where they are here with me at Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, or Einstein's.
It feels like what you feel like your asset is really your employees.
Mm-hmm.
If your
Absolutely.
employees are good, your business is good.
That's in any business, Stephanie. That's in any business. That's why I have to move. I have to give sometimes. I have to be a mama sometimes, a therapist sometimes. Sometimes, hey, let's go get a drinking party. Let's have a glass of wine, relax. You're around that. We'll have this together. So it all depends on what that employee may need at that time. For instance, I'm planning a activity for our leaders for all
Okay.
across all the brands, just the leaders, the managers, and our shift leaders to go bowling, just so we can all get together
Okay.
across all brands to spend some quality time together, get to know the best of one another. And so it'd be a gripe session. Like, it's not a gripe, it's just you come let your hair down and meet the other managers. You all can have your own conversation, but trying to figure out how we can, gel as a team, as a unit, as a company. And I'm
Right.
looking forward to that on May 15th.
And what are your training paths like? Do you just initial training onboarding, or throughout the course of their career, there are different things they can experience in their
Each
training?
brand is different. For instance, with Starbucks, you have you have your basic barista core training. Then you have barista, you could become a barista trainee, a shift leader, assistant manager, to manager. And Starbucks has tools and resources on their website to do that. The same at
Okay.
Chick-fil-A. All of our team members are on board through our HR. on like the company policy handbook. They sign off on that uniform policy, so on and so forth. And then they're transitioned over to the store operations. Right now at Chick-fil-A, I assist my ASMs with initial onboarding and training because they know that I'm going to be efficient and thorough just on the brand, the expectation, the
Mm-hmm.
the training elements. Like Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays for operations, but I train early in the morning on Saturday mornings, and I come in on Sunday for 3 hours with team members just in street clothes so we can train, so they don't have the pressure of a guest right on their neck, learning how to put together an ice cream machine, how to put together
Yeah.
a lemonade machine, so those things are challenging. How to put all
Yeah.
the little things in the Coke machine. So we do those type of things with them, and also how to turn the back of the house on. So it's a little quiet on a Sunday, and I give each new team member 3 opportunities to set up the ice cream, and they do it 3 times each. So that way they have a familiarity with it, even though when it's go time on Monday, they've only done it 2 days. It's not like,
Right.
oh my God, people are staring at me. What am I doing? They can at least say, I can put these 4 things together and may need help with the other 3. But that's what I'm
Right.
there for,
Right. Right.
through that
Exactly.
process. Get
Exactly.
familiar with it. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
So
Well,
Chick-fil-A, it's like for Starbucks, usually 4 weeks to become barista certified, like really barista certified. What that means is you can make a drink on the bar. You can go to the bar and make a drink. Chick-fil-A for front of the house is about front and back of the house is about 3 weeks to be fully trained and complete your pathway certification. There's a pathway certification with Chick-fil-A that each team member has to complete, level
okay.
ones and level 2. Mm-hmm.
And with the licensing process, I know with the franchising process, there is a fee you have to pay to corporate. Is it the same with licensing, or is it a standard agreement? And you don't have to tell me
Yeah,
amounts, but just
yeah.
standard.
It's with licensing. It's a standard. They license your location, you as an
Mhm.
operator, and they approve the location that you have, and you do pay a fee as a licensee, a monthly fee to the corporation.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for chiming in with us today. I think we learned a lot again, as I say all the time. But
Yeah,
before we go, I want to know, how can we find you?
you can find us at www.phillipsconcessions.com and on Instagram, Phillips Concessions, at Phillips Concessions, and my personal Instagram at Ramona Hall on
Okay.
Instagram and Facebook.
Thank you again so much. I've always been intrigued by the licensing franchising thing. Actually, I didn't know there was such a thing called licensing. So I learned something new today.
Say no, she's a licensee. She doesn't franchise because
I
not
get it.
A or Starbucks, they do not franchise. So that's never the terminology. Chick-fil-A, the other Chick-fil-A's you see in communities are called operator models.
Really?
Operator models, yeah.
And that's the ones that are not in a particular a specialized location.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. All right. Very cool.
An operator agreement between Chick-fil-A. So it's a partnership between Chick-fil-A corporate and an operator where they basically come together and work and operate a location.
And have
Because
you done all the, look, we were about to close up, but have you done all sort of the research? Did you have to go through a research or training yourself to really be
yes,
apprised?
I did a 2 week training for both. I did a 10-day training for Starbucks, a 2 week training at Chick-fil-A corporate headquarters for Chick-fil-A, and a 7-day training in Denver for Einstein's. Because unlike a lot of people who own these operations, as an owner, for my time and investment, I want to know exactly how to run my store. I can open up any one of my stores by myself at any given time, and I can close any one of my stores by myself at any given time. So
Okay.
if there's an issue with employees or if I have to send someone home, I can fill in anybody's spot.
Right. So, and if anybody, you're not beholden to anyone else to help you.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
cool. Cool. Well, thank you again so much. I
Thank
definitely
you.
do appreciate this. Of course, if there's anything you ever need from me, give me a call. I'm right around the corner. And I go to
Yeah.
Starbucks maybe every other day.
And thank you for thinking of me. And also, just so you know, Starbucks, we're going to get mobile order and pay in June. So look out for that. So you can now order on your phone as you're walking to Starbucks. Your coffee will be ready. So
Nice. Very cool. Very
June,
cool. Very
get mobile pay like the regular Starbucks. So it took me 5 years to get it, but I got it.
Look, I'm there. I'm either there or Einstein Bagel. Those are one of my two locations either. So
All right. Thank you so much,
thank you
Stephanie.
so much. You have a great day.
You too.
So I thank everyone for joining us today. We had some technical difficulties, but we figured it out and we learned along the way. I have watched Ramona for a very long time become just an extraordinary entrepreneur, and I thought my guest would really benefit from that. So thank you again. I'll see you next week with our next guest. Have a great day.